Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Quinjamin channel. This time it's on the main channel. So the other day I posted a video rating every single place that I've ever traveled to, and you all seem to resonate with it a little bit. So today I'm going to do something a little bit more ambitious. I'm going to be rating every single state in the United States of America. I've been to most of them, but the ones that I haven't been to, I've got a good idea of what they're about. So, you know, right? So the criteria that I'll be rating on, first and foremost, quality of roads. Quality of urban areas is the second one. Quality of people. Quality of just generalness. And then finally, quality of vibes. And that is by far the most important one. It's like an aura judgment, basically. And this, again, this is objective. This is an objective ranking. If you live in one of these states, this reflects your value to society. And how I view you. And if you disagree with me, please, dear God, comment on the video. I need the engagement, man. And if you want to see me do these live, let me know in the comments too, because I'm really thinking about live streaming, man. I'm really thinking about getting into that live streaming. Okay, with that being said, let's get into the ranking. We're starting off with a little bit of a heater. I've never been to Alabama, but I know about it. I don't really think that there's much going on in Alabama, and I think it's maybe one of the worst states in the union. I think that's pretty broadly agreed upon, but it's not like the worst state. Here's what's gonna have to happen with nature photos. Every state has beautiful nature in it, but you have to know that the first results on Google Images when you search nature are gonna be the highlights, right? So like, this is your highlight? I don't know, man. That's the best you got? A mountain looking over a big flat field of trees? Yeah, I don't know. Humid, swampy, not great. It might actually be F tier. We're going to start it off with F tier. That might be controversial for the Alabamans. You have to have some self-awareness in this life to get far. And if you don't know that your state sucks, then I honestly can't help you, brother. All right, next up we got Alaska. Alaska's a good one, dude. Not many people, some untouched nature, lots of snow, getting more habitable by the year, right? As the world warms. I feel like it's a solid A tier. I just have to rank it off vibes. I think the thing that keeps it out of S tier is there are just simply too many dudes. It's like hardcore Florida. So people who move to Florida are really about that life, right? Especially the swampy part of Florida, or if you're born in there, you are about that life. And people who move to Alaska are even more so about that life. So there's like a particular breed of Alaska people, and they're, you know, they go a little bit hard. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that. It's just you're looking at the outdoor boys of the world, right? Like the YouTube channel Outdoor Boys. 110 men for every 100 women. Okay, that's actually not as bad as I thought it was. I thought it was like 2 to 1. Next up, we have AZ, baby. I am kind of an Arizona lover. I lived in Utah for a while, and we took a trip down to the Grand Canyon and Horseshoe Bend, which is a beautiful part of Arizona. Flagstaff is an awesome town, really cool, very interesting. It's like, you think of Arizona, you don't think of mountains and snow, but there are mountains and snow, and it becomes like really hard to traverse in the wintertime. I went to Phoenix too, and Phoenix is interesting, right? It's okay. I think the big redeeming factor of Phoenix is the Mexican food. The food in general is good. It has a good food scene. The climate is actually pretty good, but at the end of the day, it is a big basin full of concrete. Like a big flat basin full of concrete, which is like not that dope. And like, it's got that Western state thing where they were like, so how much space do we have for these highways? Okay, let's double that then. Let's make them double as wide as they need to be. And so for that reason, that's what keeps Alaska or Arizona out of the S tier. I think it's more of an A tier. Maybe it's a B tier. I think we're gonna put it in high B for now. We'll move it around eventually. Next up, we have Arkansas. Arkansas. This is one of the worst states in the union, bar none. Let me tell you about my experience with Arkansas. I stayed in Texarkana one time. That is legitimately, I'm not exaggerating here, that is the worst city I have ever been to in my entire life. It's me and my mom were driving to Dallas, and we stayed in Texarkana, and it's just so awful. I had some terrible food there. We stayed in a terrible hotel. It was scary. There were bars on every single window. Look, you can't even Google the freaking town. Like, you can't even get image results for this place. Like, and just generally, Arkansas has no value in my mind. So that's a hard F. That might be the worst state in the union. California, dude. This is so interesting because it's maybe a case of extreme good outweighing extreme bad and just completely canceling it out. Because the good parts of California are so good, dude. The climate, the mountains, the nature, there's something for everyone in California. Now, I will acknowledge the problems. Homelessness, drug addiction, cost of living, all those things. Very difficult, natural disasters, fires, earthquakes, scary stuff. But it might be worth it, dude. Like, to live in San Diego, it might be worth it. Probably the most perfect climate on planet Earth, at least that I visited, San Diego. Just, coastal, beautiful, 72 year round. Like, man. And you get that like Phoenix, Arizona thing where you have delicious Mexican food and delicious food. Like, California is a bountiful place, man. It's just getting kind of screwed up by climate change. I think California's an S. God, I hate to say it because I know that the problems are bad. But man, you ever been to Lake Tahoe? That place rules. You ever been to like any part of the Bay Area? Pretty cool. All right, next up we got Colorado. Colorado is like if you took California and you removed pretty much everything about it and then you put it into the middle of the country where there's mountains and no ocean. I've been to Colorado a lot. I've been to Red Rocks. I've been to Denver a bunch of times. I've been up in the Rocky Mountains on 70. I've been to Glenwood Springs. Glenwood Springs is a mountain town, but it's not like a skiing town. It's a hot spring town. So they have like this big hot spring pool that you can go and go into for a day. And another cool thing about Glenwood Springs, up in the distance, so you're in the little downtown of Glenwood Springs. It's like a little mining town. It's an old mining town. And you look up on the hill behind the town, and you're like, is that a roller coaster? Why is there a gondola going up to a roller coaster on top of a mountain? And then you realize there's a whole freaking amusement park on top of a mountain in Glenwood Springs with like a mountain coaster and like a full roller coaster going off the edge. The scariest rides I've ever ridden. The swings are literally swing you out over a sheer cliff. I would never ride that again. These swings right here swing you out over a sheer cliff. That is the most, I am not really that scared of rides. I love rides. I would never ride this again. It is horrifying. We didn't even plan on going up there, but then I saw it and I was like, we gotta go up there before we leave. We absolutely must visit that amusement park on top of the mountain, and it was worth it. It was so fun. It's probably better than Alaska. I like Colorado a lot. I think Denver is hit and miss for me. People talk about Denver like it's a mountain town. It's not a mountain town, man. It's 2 hours from the Rockies. It's not close. And there's tons of traffic and everything. And outside of Denver and the stretch of the Rockies and then like the San Juans, not much going on. Yeah, it has to be higher than Alaska. I do like Colorado and it's world-class skiing. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. Connecticut, non-factor, B tier. Washington, D.C., why are you even in here? Also F tier, but better than Alabama. I grew up in Southern Virginia. And I've been to DC many times, and all I associate DC with is traffic and snooty people. So I can't get that out of my mind. Connecticut is actually C tier, by the way. It's just rich people from New York, and Hartford sucks. Delaware. Okay, Delaware is a place I have one experience in, and that is Firefly Music Festival, circa 2017, I think. Is this the one I went to? No, I didn't go to one with Bob Dylan. Well, did I see Weezer? No. 2018? No, it wasn't that. Oh, I did see the Arctic Monkeys. What? Am I stupid? Firefly Music Festival. The one that I remember is Outkast and the Foo Fighters. 2014. Oh my God. 2014? No, dude, no, I'm almost 30. 2017 was the year I graduated from college. What am I thinking? Delaware, that's my one experience with Delaware. It took way longer than it needed to get there. From literally central Virginia, it was like a 4-hour drive or a 5-hour drive terrible hot weather. We had not enough ice, so by the end, our campsite had just a cooler full of water with just hot dogs floating in it. Miserable sleeping situation, but the music was pretty good. C tier. Better than Connecticut. All right, South Carolina. Only place I've been in South Carolina is the Interstate 95, all the way from Maine, top of the country, down to Miami, basically bottom of the country, doesn't go down to the Keys. And so I've driven on I-95 from Virginia up to New York, and then also Virginia down to, I've gone all the way down to like the middle of Florida. So I've done a lot of the driving on this highway, and I've driven through South Carolina many times. And I've also been to Myrtle Beach, which has a bad reputation. You know, it's a little grungy, okay? It's an old boardwalk town. It's a little low rent, but I respect it. What I did in Myrtle Beach was our senior year of high school. Everybody, after you graduate, we had a thing called Beach Week. Beach Week is a time where everybody goes, a bunch of high schoolers, a bunch of really stupid high schoolers all go and rent out a place. At the time, it was awesome. I could imagine if you are visiting Cherry Grove and you are unaware that this is happening, it would probably not so awesome for you. That was a good time, but generally South Carolina, not much going on. I'm gonna put it around Arizona. It's B tier. The beaches are nice, but then other than that, it's like, what are you doing? Literally, what are you doing? Okay, next up, another divisive one. We have Florida. Florida is another divisive one. Everybody knows Florida, man. Everybody knows Florida's weird, but I bet you most of the United States people that are from the East Coast or the Midwest have gone on vacation in Florida. You don't hate Florida when you're at the beach, bro. I kind of dig the beaches. I kind of dig the whole thing they got going on there. I've been to Orlando. I've been to Tampa. I've been to Naples. I've been to Miami. I've been to Fort Lauderdale. Where's Miami? So Miami over to, I think we went to like Naples or Marco Island. Fort Myers is where I've been. I have not been to Fort Lauderdale. All that to say, Florida's fine, man. I think there's a lot of shitty parts of Florida, of course, right? There's a lot of shitty parts of every state, but there's a lot of cool stuff going on. I mean, there's literally a bridge that they built just out into the middle of the freaking ocean here. Like, what do you mean? You strung together all these islands? Like, are you crazy? What are you thinking? Like, in the hurricane capital of the world? It's a similar sort of situation to California, right? It's like the conservative California. There's just too much to encapsulate in a tier ranking, and so I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put it actually low A. I think Florida's pretty cool. I think generally, as an idea, Florida's not bad. I think that there's just a lot of weird people in that state. And there's a lot of cultures that are meshing together and creating tension and creating weird phenomena. But that's kind of awesome. Miami's cool, man. There's a lot of cool stuff there. A lot of cool stuff. Okay, Georgia. Another actually pretty interesting one. I have only really spent time, I went hang gliding in northern Georgia one time. I've been to Atlanta a couple times. Never been to Savannah, but I've heard good things. Atlanta's okay. Atlanta's a car city, dude. I'm not a huge fan of big car cities because I think they're isolating and I think that they suck. They're isolating. They don't lead to healthy lifestyles. They kill culture, all sorts of things. And Atlanta is one of those examples of a place that has huge highways that has just really bricked itself. I think it might actually be C tier. I think it's better than Delaware though. No, it's B. It's low B. It's fine. Georgia's fine. Hawaii, instant S. No downsides. Awesome place. Expensive to live there. Sort of cramped, but God, that place is awesome, man. To be fair, I'll tell you where I've been. I've been to Maui on vacation, okay? It's maybe the best sort of situation you could have to judge Hawaii off of, but it's so magical, man. Everything about Hawaii is magic. Again, I've only been there on vacation. I've never lived there. I'm sure it has unique challenges that are hard to overcome for everyone. Shut up. It's amazing. Look at Maui. I was snorkeling up in that. There's like sea turtles, they'll just swim right up to you. I was in the surf floating on my back, just relaxing, and a sea turtle literally swam underneath of my legs. It scared the shit out of me. That's pretty much all there is to say. Food's great. Fish is good. People are nice. Everybody's chilling. Hawaii's cool. S tier. Top tier. Idaho, never been to it. I think it's like a less developed Colorado. It's similar to Montana in that regard, but I don't really know a lot about it. If there's world-class skiing in your state, it gives it points in my mind. Love skiing. So for that reason, Idaho is low A. I just imagine it would be cool. It's got decent vibes too. Okay, Illinois. Chicago is cool. The rest of it sucks. So that's high B. That's all I have to say about that. Chicago is a fun city. It's a cool place. It's unique. It's the capital of the Midwest in many ways. But I don't, that's it. Indiana. It has to be a C tier at the highest, right? It might even be F. I've never been to Indiana, but the vibes are terrible. The vibes are atrocious. Iowa, F tier. Below Washington, D.C., probably below Alabama, but not above Arkansas. Nothing going on here. Been there once, would never go back. Let me illustrate my Iowa point. Let's see what happens when I Google Iowa. Okay, pictures of maps. And a big wide field. Oh, this is illustrative. Illustrative? Is that a word? This illustrates my point. This is like the 10th picture that shows up when you Google Iowa. That's all you got, brother? I don't know. If you're into farming, maybe you like Iowa, but not for me, brother. Okay, Kansas. Kansas is low C. We're getting into places that I have never, not that much experience with. Okay, we've got flowers. We've got a field, and we've got hot air balloons. This does look nicer than any Iowa city that I've seen. This looks like, at least like reasonably kind of fun. We will put Kansas one spot above Iowa. Actually above Alabama. And above DC. Okay, Kentucky. I don't know, man. I know that there's a few things I know about Kentucky. I've never been, but I know that there is Mammoth Cave. I know that there is world-class rock climbing here, believe it or not. Yep, world-class rock climbing, and I know that Jack Harlow is from Kentucky. Those are the only things that I know about Kentucky. Also, Mitch McConnell. So there's that. Let's see what happens when I Google Kentucky. At least there's like mountains, man. At least there's mountains. There's something going on. There's some nature. There's some unspoiled wilderness, I assume, right? Because it's Kentucky. Who the hell goes there? So probably low C. Louisiana, this is an easy F tier. Well, maybe low C. I don't know. I've never been to New Orleans, but I feel like I would have a fun time there. I think people speak highly of New Orleans. I think it's got good music. I mean, if Georgia is B tier, man, Louisiana's probably above it, just literally carried by what I think about New Orleans. The vibes are good, dude. The Cajun culture is interesting too, and it's more unique than Alabama in that regard, right? They're like the same place, effectively. They're in the same place in the country. They could be one state. At least New Orleans has like some unique stuff going on with the Cajun culture, the food, the music, it has something to write home about. So that's why it's 2 tiers above Alabama. All right, Maine. Never been to Maine, but have you ever seen Portland, Maine? This place is enough to make me fuck around and move to the Northeast, man. Like the real Northeast, like New England. It looks like nobody would ever bother you here. There's old, super cool historic buildings. There's walkable streets, because these were designed before cars were the size of 50 humans. It's probably cold here though, right? Let's see, Acadia also. That's a national park there. I've never been here, but I have friends who have gone and they speak very highly of it. And I don't know if you could tell by this list so far, but my rankings are influenced by nature. I have to at least have some sort of defining geological feature that I know about of the state to give it a good placement. Maine is probably in this B tier. I'm getting really good vibes putting it next to Illinois, but not above it. Idaho, man, is probably too high. Am I crazy for thinking that Idaho is too high? I think so. I think Idaho is high B at best. Okay, Maryland. Dude, I just got triggered looking at the Maryland flag. So I told you that I grew up in Southern Virginia. And we would go vacation at a place called the Outer Banks every year. And every time that you go to the Outer Banks, there is on every mile of the beach. So basically in your sight line at any point, there is always a party of people who have taken it upon themselves to dig a hole in the sand and plant a flag in the sand to just show everyone that they're from frickin' Maryland. Who cares? All Maryland culture is Old Bay. That's the only thing you got. You got Old Bay and Lamar Jackson. Those are the two things that Maryland has going on. It's not cool. F. Get over yourselves. It's worse than DC. Massachusetts B tier. I've been to Boston a couple times. I used to play volleyball in college against teams in Boston, so we would go out, play MIT or whatever. Bunch of freaking nerds. And I visited Boston in different capacities over my life. The older I get, the more I come to respect Boston, but the last time that I went there, I was not old enough to respect it. The way that the streets are designed, it's really hard to drive here, which is a good thing. As I've grown older, I understand that that's a good thing, right? We shouldn't have straight roads that cars can go super fast on. It ruins the neighborhoods. And being able to walk places is awesome. Everybody loves walking, whether you think you do or not. Walking is one of the best things to do as a human, just walking around a place. So the last time that I visited Boston, I was too young to understand this, and I shit on it. I shit on Somerville, I shit on Boston, because I didn't understand that walkability is a good thing, and that having old designed cities gives them character and gives you lots of interesting places to live. Like, look at this house. It's a circle, where you don't see that in Nashville, Tennessee. There's no circle houses in Nashville. I actually really respect Boston, and I think Massachusetts is a beautiful place, and I think I'm going to probably put it in low A. No, it's high B. It's high B. It's above Idaho. Idaho's lower. I hate to say it. Idaho's lower than all those things. I think Massachusetts has a similar vibe to Illinois, right? Like, Boston's great, rest of the states, whatever. In the same way that Chicago's great, rest of the states, whatever. All right, Michigan, I don't know, man. Maybe low B? No, high C. Too many B tiers. Above Delaware, for sure. I've been to Michigan maybe one time. It's supposed to be pretty, right? The Great Lakes. But one time I was skiing in Utah, and I was talking with a ski patrol guy. It was the end of the day, and we were just hanging out watching the sunset. And I was telling him that I have been to Minnesota a bunch of times, and he was like, "Oh yeah, my family has a house on the UP, on Michigan, which is the Upper Peninsula, right? And it's like he summers there," is what he said. And I was like, "Oh, cool. I have been many times to Grand Marais, which is up here on the Great Lakes. So this is the UP right here, right? This is the UP. This is Lake Superior. This is Grand Marais. I've been here many times." And I say, "Oh, I go to the North Shore of Minnesota. It's like, that's pretty similar. Like, cool, man. It's beautiful up there." And he's like, "Not the same." He literally hits me with a, "No, it's not." And then I wanted to hurl myself off the side of the cliff. I've never been shut down so hard by a man who was affable up to that point. And for that reason, Michigan, God, fuck that guy, F tier. Minnesota, S tier, baby. No, it's not. It's not. It's simply just not. Full disclosure, I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I am not scared to say that. Come find me. I'll freaking take you down if you come at me. There's a lot of things to love about Minnesota. I love Minneapolis. Really livable city, walkable, a lot of culture. People love living here. Like, there's a lot of good things about it. But boy, is it cold here. It is 1 degree today. It's 1 degree outside right now. I've got my heater running down by my feet, and I'm still cold in this room right now. I've got 3 computers on in here. I got lights on me. I got a heater going on, and I'm still cold. And, you might be like, "Oh, but shut the fuck up, okay? This is my ranking, and I generally am not bothered by cold, but we just were in Hawaii, and I just got back, and it made me rethink my whole life. I think Minnesota is it's better than Colorado, though. Objectively, maybe not, but on my list, it's high A. If it were just, like, not quite as cold, it would be S tier. Okay, Mississippi, F. There's nothing to say here. I can't even think of anything redeemable about Mississippi. It's probably one of the worst states in the union. Missouri, It's got the St. Louis Arch, but it's probably low C. I don't really have much to say about Missouri. Montana, it's right next to Idaho. Never been there, but I'm sure it's beautiful. They are catering a little bit too much to the ultra wealthy these days, which is causing problems with their urban environment. Guy who watched one YouTube video on it. I've been watching a lot of Northern Lion too, if you can't tell. Yeah, Montana is going through it, but they have beautiful mountains and, you know, some services. Nebraska is a low C at best, probably high F. Oh yeah. No, Googled it, have seen it, don't love it. That is a high F if I've ever seen it. Now, Nevada is one of those interesting things. In my mind, it sort of compares to Florida in that, like, Las Vegas is a stunning, beautiful metropolis, if you're into that sort of thing, but the rest of the state is a desolate wasteland. It's got good income taxes. If you're a greedy bastard, you can live there. Low C for sure. Below Missouri, above Nebraska, definitely above Michigan. It might be F. I'm just not into the whole Vegas thing. It's probably high F. It's fine. Whatever, dude. Like, the only cool part of Nebraska or Nevada is the Nevada side of Lake Tahoe. New Hampshire. This is like conservative Vermont, right? I've never been here. I'm sure it's cold. The White Mountains are here. And I don't really think that a lot of people live in New Hampshire. Oh yeah, it's got that New England vibe. It's probably really quaint here. A lot of churches. I'm sure that there were some like witches burned at the stake here. That's what this is reminding me of. It's funny that like this beautiful, serene, colorful landscape just reminds me of people getting burned on top of bonfires. Also, there's skiing here, which is pretty decent, but it is East Coast skiing. So how good could it really be? Probably it's kind of sitting with the Idaho, Montana. It's like East Coast Idaho, right? Yeah. New Jersey, low C. Actually, probably F. I don't really like it. I hate the Jersey Turnpike. It's expensive to drive on. Literally, the image that when I search New Jersey is a picture of New York City. That's New York City, right? New Jersey longing to have New York City in it. I'm not a huge fan of New Jersey. I think it's so meh. Nothing else to say about New Jersey. New Mexico. Never been here, but it seems like it would be an A, at least probably an S. Can I put a state that I've never been to in S? I don't think so. I only hear good things about New Mexico. It's got a lot of obviously Mexican influence in the culture, which if you've seen my other ranking every place I've ever been to video, you know that I love Mexican culture. I find it very inspiring. I find it very beautiful, and I find their food to be delicious. It's like more nature-focused Arizona. Am I crazy for thinking that? Maybe, but it's my list. You can suck it. Arizona's in B tier. Yeah, that difference makes a lot of sense. New York is probably S. New York City, love it or hate it, the Big Apple has got something for everybody. Unless you hate crowds, in which case you don't like New York City. But if you like public transit, New York's for you. You like mountains, they got the Adirondacks. Lake George is a place that maybe some of you have heard of, but it's just absolutely beautiful. The Hudson Valley is an amazing place. It's got that northeastern charm while still being very close to New York City. It inspired some of the most beautiful American art ever made. It's just a well-preserved part of the Rust Belt where it's kind of transitioned out of the factory part of history and just kept itself really pristine and cool and interesting. And there's a lot of history here. A lot of money comes from New York City, which keeps it nice. It's just a relic of a bygone era of America, and it's preserved well. And there's really cool towns everywhere in the Hudson Valley. Hudson Valley is cool. Adirondacks are cool. Western New York, snowy and flat, but I have some friends from there who love it. I don't know. Rochester and in Buffalo or whatever. New York City's great. I think that's enough to put it into S tier. North Carolina, I hate the cities. I don't like Charlotte. I don't like Raleigh. I don't like Durham. But I like the beaches. They're so beautiful. Look at how chill it is there. The houses are right on the beach, not too built up. You can go out, you can sit on the beach all day. There's not really that much aggressive nature that's going to keep you out of the water. Like, it's just, I like the North Carolina beaches, man. It's enough to put it in A tier above New Mexico. North Dakota, F tier. That's an easy F. Below Nevada, below Nebraska, below Michigan, below Kansas, below DC, below Maryland, below Alabama, around Iowa. Ohio. I've never seen something more C tier in my entire life. Other than the meme that was popular maybe like 2 years ago and is completely irrelevant and cringe for me to say now, Ohio has nothing going for it. Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plains. Any place that the U.S. government moved Native Americans to, they saw no value in, right? They took the land from the natives and moved them to other places like northern Arizona and Oklahoma. And they gave them the least valuable land. They gave them South Dakota, North Dakota, Oklahoma, New Mexico land for a reason, right? Because it wasn't valuable and because they wanted to take the valuable land that they were on, which I'm not getting into whether that's right or wrong. Spoiler alert, it's wrong. But for that reason, Oklahoma is just an F tier. It's not worse than Arkansas, though. Oregon, man, what a beautiful place. God, what a beautiful state. So I did a road trip from San Francisco all the way up to Seattle with a couple of my friends. We went out east to Yosemite, camped in Yosemite, drove up the side of Yosemite up to Oregon, where we stayed in Klamath Falls, went to Crater Lake. And then we went to Portland, where we saw LeBron's first game as a Laker. And then we went up to Seattle and stayed with our other friend and had a really good time up there. And it was one of the most beautiful drives I've ever been on in my entire life. Just coming out of the mountains through all the changing colors and everything down into the valley. Oh God, it was beautiful. So for that reason, Oregon is going to be A tier. It's going to be worse than North Carolina, but still A tier. Quite cool. Portland's fun too. It's weird, but it's fun. Pennsylvania. I have a lot of conflicting feelings about Pennsylvania. Philly is a fun, interesting city with some cool stuff going on. It's like New York Junior. And Pittsburgh, I recently went there. I kind of really love that place. Pittsburgh is one of the more interesting urban areas in the US. It's like in a little basin and surrounded by mountains. And there's old industrial cars and stuff going up the hill, and like a lot of Americana, a lot of old brick buildings or old housing and old neighborhoods that are walkable and still have some form of culture in them. It's a really interesting place. It's the type of place that had manufacturing and then that went away, but it was able to stay wealthy by pivoting to like tech because of places like Carnegie Mellon and Pitt and the investment in higher education from the robber barons that made the city originally. They've kind of sustained with tech, and it's stayed really nice, and it's a livable place. I think it's relatively affordable. There's a lot of really cool bars and stuff. You can smoke inside here. That's based. They say the word yins instead of y'all, that's cool. And Pennsylvania has, a couple major cities, some mountains, some interesting stuff. I think it's either low A or high B. I'm going to put it low A because I respect it. Rhode Island, I have no opinion on. C tier. South Dakota, that is an F tier. That is one of the most useless states in the nation. There's Mount Rushmore, the Black Hills. But other than that, it is devoid of anything. Tennessee. You got the mountains. You got Nashville. You've got the Tennessee Titans, which is my team. Go Will Levis. But Nashville's kind of become a husk of its former self, I think. I think it's gotten built up and kind of lost a lot of that grit. There's this diaspora of people going to the Southeast right now that are like not born and raised there and like bringing weird culture and stuff, and like Nashville's just getting built up by a lot of that. I think it's taking on a lot of the burden of that. But I see it in even where I'm from, like around Richmond, like there's just this weird migration of people to the Southeast for whatever reason. And so I think Nashville's lost a lot of that culture. I think that it's a beautiful state. There's a lot of mountains. Yeah, the Shenandoah or the Appalachia. It's a cool place. I like Tennessee. I'm not a Tennessee hater. I'm going to put it in B tier though. I think it's high B. No, low B. Texas is one of those places, man. It is one of those places with a lot of aura. A lot of people live here, big state, a lot of big cities, a lot of flat land though too. But the cities in Texas are all broadly pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. I think the Texas culture is cool. I think that the whole like machismo cowboy thing, I'm a sucker for it. A dude in cowboy boots, awooga, talks with a southern drawl. It's more like let me do a Texas. Texas is like this. It's like, I got friends. Like, it's like Garth Brooks is like, that's that kind of Southern. Barbecue is great. Austin is fun. Interesting. It's a little overhyped though. TBH. Western Texas is whatever. Texas, I think it certainly deserves to be in the A tier at the lowest, right? It's probably above Florida, its other controversial high population counterpart, above Alaska. I like Texas. I think there's a lot to love there, and I think that people dig it. Utah, or as I like to call it, Pootah, because it sucks. I'm just kidding. It doesn't suck. Utah is awesome, man. I lived in Salt Lake City for like 2-ish years during the pandemic, and it was one of the best times to live in Salt Lake City. People think of Denver. They think of skiing. They think of all that stuff you can do in Colorado. That's not a mountain city. Salt Lake City is a legitimate mountain city. Like, when I lived here, it was legitimately 30 minutes door to door from my house to the ski resort. I was on the lift in 30 minutes. 30 minutes on a weekday. Canyon traffic sucks. If you know, you know. But I was skiing Brighton, I was skiing Solitude, I was skiing Alta, I was skiing Snowbird, I was skiing up in the freaking mountains. I was hiking these mountains. So much to do in Utah. I mean, the city itself is actually pretty. It does fall victim to that, that whole like really big highways for no reason that just bisect the city and make it unwalkable. That does suck. But then you go to southern Utah and you got St. George. You got beautiful canyons. You've got Canyonlands, which is just untouched wilderness as far as the eye can see, like Grand Canyons everywhere, basically. You've got Zion, which of course has Angel's Landing and the Narrows and all this sort of iconic stuff. It's unbelievable. There is nowhere in the world like southern Utah. It has so much diversity. The state of Utah has so much diversity. And despite the Mormons doing their best to make it weird and unlivable, it is an S tier state, man. It's above New York. It might even be above Hawaii. It's above California. It's top tier, dude. It rules. It plays rules. God, I love Utah. Next we have Virginia. Virginia, I was born and raised, Southern Virginia, Richmond area. It's got a lot of the stuff that other states have, but it doesn't do anything well. I also have really bad allergies when I'm in Virginia, and it's so hot and humid and sticky and but it does have some reasonably interesting stuff. It is next to DC and Maryland though, so I'm gonna put it probably C tier. There's not really much to write home about here. It's gotta be above Tennessee though, right? No, it's gotta be C tier. I think Tennessee actually might be C tier. Sorry, Tennessee. High C. They're similar in my mind. They're just like, whatever, dude. Next is Vermont. I've never been to Vermont, but I have a lot of friends from Vermont, and it's supposed to be beautiful. I think I'm going to put it, where did I put New Hampshire? I'm putting it right next to New Hampshire. Bottom of B. That makes a lot of sense. I'm sure I would like it, but I've never been, so I can't really speak to it. Washington. Beautiful state. I have a lot of similar feelings to Washington as I do to Oregon. Only Seattle is maybe slightly worse of an urban area than Portland. I don't feel comfortable saying that. It's different. It's a similar thing. I think it's got a lot of the same stuff that Oregon has. Maybe slightly worse. No, it's slightly better. Washington's cool. It's awesome. Rainy, beautiful. Some changed my life at some point. If you've seen my places I've ever been to rating. Wisconsin. Wisconsin is like Minnesota, but I haven't lived there. So it's like I only have the negative things that I think about it. And for that reason, it's going to be, it's right next to Illinois. It's like Illinois if you didn't have Chicago. Last two, we're getting down there. Okay, West Virginia. It's like Kentucky, but 10% better. So wherever I put Kentucky, there you go. Okay, West Virginia goes about 10% up the list from it, 5 spots. And finally, Wyoming. Ugh, what a desolate, terrible one to end on, man. Wyoming is like all the Mountain West states, but without the people and without any of the cool stuff. It's like shitty Montana is how I think of Wyoming. Highway 80 sucks to drive on. There's like times where it's fully closed because it's just so snowy and windy there that it just screws you. I've driven through Wyoming many times and it's just so whatever. I'm never sad to leave it behind. I'm never happy to see it. So for that reason, it's going to go low C. It doesn't suck quite as bad as something as like New Jersey, for example, but it is not great. Okay. That's my ranking. Check it out on the screen. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel, like the video. Also, let me know down in the comments if you're deep in this video and you made it all the way through. I am thinking about live streaming, so I think you would be a good viewer. I also think just let me know. Just let me know that you're here in the thick of it at the end of the video and that you're hardcore and that you agree with everything that I said about all these states too. Anyway, bye.